friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. Today's video is all about seeds. This is one of my absolute favorite time of years when we get to pick the seeds that we're going to be growing this year, plan out our garden, and just dream big, right? So we started growing from seeds about 3 years ago, and you have a lot more variety options to choose from when you grow from seed. So I thought we would have a 2024 garden chat, seed chat. And I wanted to share everything that we're growing, but also share why we chose that particular variety and kind of fast forward to harvest time and picture what we're going to be using it for when it comes time for preservation season. This is one of those videos that you might want to wait and watch when you can curl up on the couch with a warm blanket and some hot tea or coffee or something, and just enjoy this pantry chat. I don't think it's going to be a short one because I love seeds, and when I get to talking about seeds, I can go on and on and on. I'll try not to, but I do want to take you through every single thing that we are growing and why, and just share all the tips. Okay, let's get started. If you would like help planning a productive garden, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for a free garden printable. We calculated quantities for a year's supply of the most common garden vegetables and organized them into a neat chart to help you plan. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on gardening and food preservation, food storage, and more. So, to start with, we are growing cabbage, a lot more cabbage than we have ever grown, because what I found in my records, I'm using my Sprout to Supper planner here. Here's my growing plan. What reminded me was I keep records in this planner, and those records over the last 2 years have shown me we eat through a lot more cabbage than I think we do. So now that I have record and proof that we eat a lot more cabbage in more ways than I thought we did, I know that we need to grow cabbage in a lot higher volume than we ever have before. The Sprout to Supper planner is available in the shop if you are interested. So the cabbage that we are growing this year is the same cabbage we grew last year because we got fantastic results, and that is golden acre cabbage. Golden acre cabbage. The reason why I chose golden acre cabbage is because I live in the South, zone 7B, and actually with the zone map changes, we're technically 8A now. But what that means is that we have a very short spring. We have a tendency to go from winter to summer, which isn't good for a spring crop of cabbage, but golden acre cabbage grows. It's one of the quickest growing varieties of cabbage that still come to a head. Now you can get the non-head forming cabbages that will grow faster, but this is still your typical head forming cabbage, around 3 pounds per head, and it grows in just, let's see, this says 63 days. In my area, I think it was around 75 to 80 days. It always seems to be longer than what the seed packet says, but still 70, 75 days, that is still a fantastic quickness grow rate, I guess you could say, for cabbage. So golden acre cabbage. Next, we always include a bed of kale. We love dwarf blue curled kale. And I have found that the Dollar Tree seeds for this type of variety grow fantastic. I purchased these seeds in 2022. I used 2022 seeds last year, fantastic results, and I have no reason to believe that this isn't going to give me fantastic results again this year, 2 years later. If I plant them and I have a poor sprout rate, then I'll just go and get some fresh seeds, but super cheap. They're usually 4 for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and dwarf blue curled kale, absolutely fantastic. For whatever reason, this variety, and I don't know if this is what it's known for, but this variety grew for me all throughout the summer. Kale is usually a cold weather crop. I was harvesting kale still in July, and it didn't taste bitter. So the heatness didn't make it bolt until it did bolt, but it didn't bolt until mid-August. So I was able to harvest this almost all summer long. It was fantastic, blew my mind. That will be in our garden from here on out. Next, let's talk about our onions. So I don't have onion seeds because we purchase onion seedlings or onion sets. I was about to say not onion bulbs. So you can purchase, if you go to like a Lowe's or Home Depot or just a big box store, what you're gonna find is like onion bulbs that are in their second year of life. And when you try to grow them, a lot of times you're not gonna get that big bulb of an onion. So instead, we grow onion sets, which is basically onion seedlings that are in their first year of life, and they grow to that full maturity. And we don't have as big of a problem with bolting. So I always order our onion sets from Dixondale Farms. Fantastic company. I highly recommend them. We grow red Creole onions. The reason why, we're in Zone 7B. Red onions are notorious for not lasting very long in your pantry. It's hard to find a red onion variety that will last more than 4 months in storage. The red Creole onion does. It lasts about 6 months in your pantry. So that's why we grow that one. And then we go through a lot of white and yellow, like sweet type onions. We grow Texas super sweet onions. They do not store well, so we preserve them almost immediately upon harvest. We'll eat a few fresh for a couple weeks, but then that's the type of onion, the Texas super sweet onion. It's going to go into all of our sauces, our relishes. It's going to be used to make our sweet onion relish that we absolutely love. And then we're going to be dehydrating them in slices and chopped dices, and either dehydrate or freeze dries the rest of those, and they'll be stored in quart jars in our pantry. Next is potatoes. In the past, I have grown multiple different varieties: russet, Yukon Gold, and the red potato. I have found that the Yukon Gold potato is far above better growing, better disease resistance, but most importantly, I would say is best for preserving via dehydrating. The red potatoes tend to just crumble when you dehydrate them, and they just don't hold their shape well, and we like to put up potatoes in shreds, slices, and dices or cubes, and the Yukon Gold is just far better for that. Another reason why is because russet potatoes are a lot more starchy or starchier than the Yukon Gold, so when you're canning them, you're dealing with a lot of that heavy starch, and the Yukon Gold isn't quite as starchy. It's still starchy, it still needs to be soaked and rinsed and all that to try to get the starch out, but for canning and dehydrating and growing, when you consider all those three things together, the Yukon Gold is the winner for us in our area. In the same, so sweet potatoes, not the same family, but just potatoes, so it's next on my list. We don't start those from seeds either. Sweet potatoes are grown from slips, so I don't have a seed packet here to show you. But the slips just sprout off of the sweet potato itself, and we usually either start those in February. Last year, I couldn't get my slips to produce, and I ended up ordering them. I think it was from George's Plant Farm or something like that, and they were fantastic. So we will order slips for those. Okay, back to seeds. Carrots. Carrots, carrots, carrots. So last year we did a side-by-side experiment with 4 or 5 different carrot varieties. They all grew, and some of them ended up not growing any more than just this. And some of them were big, but they were bitter. But the winners of last year's side-by-side test was the new Carota carrot. It's a thick carrot, but a slightly shorter carrot, not as long as something like your Danvers type carrot, but still plenty long enough. Definitely not baby carrots by any means. Also, red core Chantenay, or Chantenay, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But red core Chantenay and new Carota carrots performed above and beyond all the other carrots in that contest. So I will only be growing these 2 varieties this year. Next up, let's talk cucumbers. We used to grow only one type of cucumber, and then last year, or 2 years ago, we tested growing both a pickling variety and a snacking variety, and that was a winner because it kept my kids happy with their snackers and it kept them away from my pickling cucumbers, so I could still do all of the relishes and pickles and all of that. So for our pickling, or excuse me, our snacking cucumber, Muncher cucumber is our absolute favorite. We have tried several varieties. This is the one we love. It's not very seedy, and they seem to be nice, sweet, and juicy no matter what the temperature or like drought water level, what water levels are. Like if it's, even if it doesn't get watered for 2 weeks, it still seems to stay sweet and juicy. The next one is the National Pickling. Sometimes last year I think we did a test of Boston Pickling and National Pickling. I didn't notice a difference between either one of them. So I'm just gonna, I have some National Pickling left over from last year, so I'm just gonna grow National Pickling again. And that's of course for all of the pickles for canning and pickle relishes, sweet pickle relish in particular. Oh, watermelon. So I haven't been a big watermelon grower because if you're new here, we grow a pantry staples garden. So when I first started gardening, I think I started out like pretty much how everyone starts out, and that is to grow anything and everything under the sun. It's fun to experiment, it's fun to play. But what I found was I had a little bit of a lot of different things, but I didn't have enough of any one thing to fill my pantry with. So over the years, I have practiced self-discipline and pared down our seed list to only those things that can be canned, dehydrated, freeze-dried, fermented, all of those things to make them last a long time and fill my pantry when it comes time for harvest season. So for a couple years there, we actually ditched watermelon altogether. But what I found, even though in my staples garden, I still need some fresh eating for that quick reward, fruit of our labor, you know, to really enjoy it right there in the garden, or snap it off the vine, come inside and enjoy it. So that is why we still grow sugar baby watermelon. If you haven't grown watermelon before, it takes up a lot of space. I mean, you've heard of watermelon patches. It's like even just a couple plants need a whole patch dedicated to watermelon. So we switched to sugar baby, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and that is because they only get about this big. They're called an ice chest watermelon because it's like the size of a watermelon that can fit inside of a typical cooler, like a small kind of cooler. And because of their small size, which is still big enough to feed our family, just a quick snack, because of their small size, they can trellis, so you can train them to grow vertically. And they grow on those cattle panel trellises beautifully, and they're not heavy enough to snap the vines. So if you are tight on space and still want to grow watermelon, sugar baby watermelon is going to be what you want to try. Okay, we talked about sweet potatoes. Y'all know, if you were here last year, you know this is like my baby in the garden. Zucchini rampicante, and I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's okay because it's delicious and I'm growing it anyway. But this converted me last year. Last year I was like testing out some things, and for years I grew the typical Black Beauty zucchini, like what everybody grows, and the squash bugs just every year just decimated my crops. I mean, I would get a handful of green zucchini before they would just be decimated, and it just was not worth it anymore. So I started researching something that I could grow in a very large volume so that I could harvest it before the squash bugs had time to completely decimate it, so that even if the squash bugs did come in, I could harvest a bunch before they were all gone. Number two, I wanted to find something that was somewhat resistant to the squash vine borer, which is another just really annoying pest in our area. And that's where I found this. You're still going to get your squash bugs, but it is hardy. It continues to grow. I didn't have any squash vine borers this year. I don't know if it was just a fluke with our weather patterns and all of that this year, or if it was because of this particular variety, but I am no longer growing traditional squash or zucchini. This is the only zucchini I will grow from now on. We have a whole video on this talking about the incredible 2-for-1 transformer vegetable. If you missed that, be sure to check it out. I'll link it in the description box below. Okay, next. I'm excited about this one. French Vortex pole green bean. I have converted to pole beans years ago, but I still, every year, I feel like I just have this itch and I have to scratch it, and I have to plant bush beans too. And every year I am disappointed with the yields. But so this year I really am, hold me to it. I really am going to stick to pole green beans, and I'm going to try to grow them 2 whole trellises of them, because I want to put up at least 12 quarts of green beans, which will allow us to serve green beans as a side dish once a month, preferably twice a month. So I'm kind of going to shoot for 24 quarts. We'll see how that pans out. But here's why I chose this one, and it's a French, did I say all the names? It's like French Filet Vortex green bean pole variety. It's a mouthful. But the reason why is because they are stringless, so none of those annoying strings. They go 6 to 7 inches long. They're pole, so we're going to get a higher volume of it. And they are extremely productive. These are supposed to produce all season long. So this year will be the test. We'll see. But all of my research points to winner chicken dinner. Okay, next, let's see, next is our, heavy hitter okra. This is some seeds we saved from last year's okra. We store them in pill bottles, and this okra, I only planted, I think, 6 plants, and it gave us enough okra to put up, I think it was 8 or 9 gallons of pre-prepped okra, already sliced, already breaded, ready for frying. And those are in our freezer, and we've been serving those as a side dish at least once a month, if not twice a month, and they've been fantastic. Heavy hitter okra. Okay, next, peppers. Let's talk about, we are not a spicy loving family, so we only grow sweet peppers. I tested this one out last year, Marconi Rosso. I have seen it pronounced Marconi Rossi as well, like spelled with an I. But they are beautiful. They're oblong peppers. They grow about like this, but they're still thick. They're a fantastic pepper for grilling. We don't really do a whole lot of grilling, but the reason why I liked this pepper is because it was so productive, but it was still big, and it felt like I wasn't wasting time chopping it up and dehydrating it, because that's what we use it for. We chop them up, we dehydrate them. We use them fresh also to can our salsas and stuff, of course. I forgot to mention that. But it felt they were very fleshy and large and productive. So this is going to be a winner in our garden from now on, Marconi Rosso or Marconi Rossi. The next one is the standard California Wonder bell pepper. This is another Dollar Tree, super cheap, 25-cent packet of seeds that have performed fantastic for us last year. One thing that I learned about sweet peppers last year for me in my area, zone 7B, is that they don't even fully take off until the end of July or early August. And for a long time, I thought I was failing miserably at peppers, and I would actually pull them out of the ground because I was thinking, okay, well, they're not going to produce. I'm not going to waste this space. I'm going to yank them out and plant something else and, get a harvest. But if I had just let them go longer, I would have gotten a harvest, and I know that now. They are such a long producing crop to where, long producing in the sense that it takes a long time before they start producing, I should say, clarify that. But just leave them in the ground, fertilize them well, and I think they will produce for you. I'm on the fence about this one, corbaci, something like that. They're long and skinny, as you can see. The reason why I'm on the fence, because I struggled with peppers for so many years, the first year I grew this and got a pretty large harvest, I was over the moon because I thought, at least I have some sweet peppers here to put up. But you see how skinny they are? Down along that line, all the way down, is a row of seeds. De-seeding them was a pain in the neck, and I felt like it was too much work to chop up and de-seed, and what I was left with didn't feel like a large enough volume to make it worth it to me. That's why I'm for sure growing a large amount of Marconi Rossi, because they are almost as long, but they're super thick. So you're getting so much more pepper and not seed out of the Marconi Rosso peppers. So, yeah, I'm still on the fence. I might do it because they're beautiful. I mean, look how pretty they are. Sometimes we just need to grow some things that bring joy in the garden, you know? I like to look at them, even if I'm not going to be able to fill my pantry with them. Okay, tomatoes. Tomato time. Tomato time. I'm excited about tomatoes. Okay. I'm making a huge switch this year. If you're new here, you may not know that we are heirloom only gardeners, organic only gardeners, no pesticides, no GMOs, heirloom seeds only. But I am changing to hybrid tomato seeds this year. And here's why. I was about to say I'm still on the fence, but I'm not on the fence. I'm doing it. I mean, I've already ordered them. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. But the reason why is because heirloom tomatoes, as beautiful as they are, and the significant benefit of being able to save your seed year after year is fantastic, knowing it is completely unadulterated, just completely natural. They don't have the ability to stand up against pests, disease, and drought. And I deal with all three of those in my hot, humid summers here in the South. And I put a lot of effort into growing tomatoes, and I need a lot of tomatoes for pasta sauce, salsa, tomato powder, tomato sauce, I mean, just all the things, right? All the things tomatoes, everything that we need tomatoes for. And I need such a large volume to be able to put up and can and dehydrate all of those things. And I'm not getting a big enough harvest out of the heirloom tomatoes because they're often not very large either. I mean, some of them are, but they can't get to that large, full maturity if they get eaten by pests first, or if they get taken over by a disease first. And that's what was happening with me. So this year, I was very particular about which hybrid seeds I was going for. Now, these are still non-GMO. These are still not GMO seeds, but actually, this one might be. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay. So hybrid, I'm not a pro when it comes to hybrid because, like I said, we've always been heirloom. So please correct me if I'm wrong. If you are super familiar with hybrid seeds, please give me a little bit of an education down in the comment section. From what I understand, hybrid seeds don't mean GMOs. It means that they took this tomato plant of one species and this tomato plant of another species and sliced them together to produce this best of both worlds child tomato. That's what I understand about hybrid seeds. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But that selection and splicing and getting the best of both worlds is what allows hybrid tomatoes to withstand those pests and those diseases and the drought conditions and just the vast fluctuations between heavy rains and drought, that is not good for a tomato. Hybrid tomatoes can withstand that. So I'm growing hybrid this year in the name of filling my pantry finally with all the tomato products that we need. So, long story, long introduction to this tomato seed haul. Here's the ones I'm going with. Big Beef Hybrid. I mean, I'm sure y'all know about Big Beef Hybrid. It's like the classic backyard garden tomato for a good reason. They are big and bright and beautiful, deep red, extremely juicy, very flavorful. This is like your sandwich tomato, cutting up on a sandwich, eaten fresh, stuff like that. I have been known to eat tomatoes like an apple before. Just sit down, sometimes with a little bit of sea salt shaker, sprinkle a little bit of salt, take a bite like an apple. Is that weird? Should I have admitted that? Okay, Big Beef Hybrid. Next, Brandy Boy Hybrid. This is a Burpee specialty. I couldn't find it anywhere else besides Burpee. I wonder if they have like the patent on it or something. I don't know. I don't even know if you can patent seeds. Can you patent seeds? I'm not sure. But Brandy Boy Hybrid. The reason why I got this based off of, whose recommendation was it? The Millennial Gardener. The Millennial Gardener, he grows in North Carolina. And our climates are similar to each other. And I think he said that the Brandy Boy hybrid outperformed all of his other tomatoes in his drought conditions that he experienced over the last few years. So that is why I specifically got the Brandy Boy tomato from Burpee. I'm really hoping that this thing is going to be a winner like he suggested. Next is the San Marzano. If you don't know, you want to generally stick to Roma style tomatoes for canning because they are fleshy and not as seedy. You get a lot more pulp from your Roma tomatoes than you do like your big round slicer tomatoes. And San Marzano is a wonderful and beautiful, prolific Roma style tomato. So this is sauce. When I look at these seeds, I think you're going to be sauce, and that's what I'm going to be using it for. Next is, we always grow Cherokee Purple. They're not super prolific for me, mostly because of the pests that get to them before I can, and the sun scald, which I think I might try to remedy this year with some shade cloth. We'll see. But they're just delicious. It is one of the most exquisite tomatoes I have ever tasted. Cherokee Purple. If you haven't tried it, you might want to try it. Okay, now let's switch to some cherry. I always like to grow a cherry tomato, usually only one variety, and I usually have been testing different varieties every year, and I have not landed on my absolute winner, like forever cherry tomato. If you have a winner cherry tomato that it's like it will be in your garden forever, please let me know. I've tried several. This year I'm trying Sun Gold. They are supposed to be one of the sweetest cherry tomatoes, and they're supposed to be very productive. Now these are going to be mostly for snacking. However, I am not one to ditch non-sauce tomatoes in my sauce, meaning I will totally put slicer type tomatoes and cherry type tomatoes in my sauce. I think it gives it even more depth of flavor. And even though I'm dealing with the seeds, I find it's not really that big of a deal. I use my immersion blender to make it nice and smooth. So these might end up going in my pasta sauce too. Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. I'm excited about this one. Now this one was a freebie. I didn't plan on buying this one, but they sent it to me. The 42-day tomato. Apparently this thing grows in 42 to 45 days. And it is the slightly bigger than the cherry tomatoes. So not a cherry tomato, but not a Roma tomato either. Just those ones that are slightly bigger than cherry tomatoes. That's what this is supposed to be. And that would be awesome. 42 days. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited about those, testing those out. I think that's all the tomatoes, y'all. I think that's all the tomatoes. Yes. Not too crazy, right? I mean, I've been known to grow like 15 different varieties before, but that's only what, 5 or 6? I don't know. Okay, we grow our salad greens every single year without fail. Such a huge money saver. Also, the freshness just cannot be beat. So this year, last year I tested out doing I dedicated my green stalk vertical grower to my salad bar. I made it my salad bar and I grew everything that I would want a salad in that thing. It still wasn't enough to keep us in salad greens, a family of 5 all year long. So this year, instead of doing the vertical green stalk, I'm still going to be using it, but instead of dedicating it to salad greens, I'm doing an entire 50-foot row. It might sound a little crazy, but I'm going to be succession planting so that I'm not planting them all at once. I plan on going out and planting every 2 weeks. And I'm going to use the cut and come again method. Just cut the tops off, continue letting those bottoms grow. In the summertime, I'm going to put shade cloth over it. And in the winter time, I'm going to put frost cloth over it. And I think doing it that way will allow us to finally be able to produce greens 24/7 all year long at a large enough of a volume for 5 people to snack on, because we all love salads. It's almost every day. I'm not picky when it comes to salad varieties. I will try them all, and I feel like I have tried them all, but I do have a few favorites. Tatsoi. Tatsoi is something I learned about through Baker Creek, which is where I order a lot of my seeds. As you can tell, look at that cute little boy. He's so cute. But Tatsoi it's cold hardy and heat hardy. Now, it will bolt eventually. This bolted for me in July. But I still had tatsoi in May and June. And May and June in my area can still see temperatures up into the 80s. So tatsoi, I got this free variety Merlot lettuce from Baker Creek last year. I tried it. It was fantastic. Very slow to bolt. Very, very slow to bolt in the heat. So fantastic if you live in the South. I love their Rocky Top lettuce blend. Baker Creek's Rocky Top lettuce blend is delicious. It's probably my favorite flavor-wise, but I also have to be practical and choose lettuces that are slow to bolt because of the heat that we have here. But flavor-wise, that Rocky Top blend is fantastic. The four-season lettuce, or Marvel de Quatre Saisons. Four-season lettuce. It's called four-season lettuce because you're supposed to be able to grow it in all the seasons, no matter your heat, no matter your cold. Now, if you live in an area where you experience extreme cold or extreme heat, you're still gonna have to intervene with frost blankets or shade cloth or growing in shade or something like that. But this is a fantastic lettuce for growing in pretty much all types of conditions. Another lettuce that we always grow is anything in the butter crunch family. This doesn't have a pretty picture on it, unfortunately. Anything in your butter crunch family is going to typically be slow to bolt. That's just how that species or variety is. I think that's all the greens that I had. I have a lot more, as you can see here, I have a lot more seeds than what I have here out on the counter, but this is like duplicates of what I have here. But also, like I said, I used to grow anything and everything, and I cannot throw seeds away. I just can't. So these are all the seeds that I haven't used yet. Okay, let's talk about herbs. So one thing that I'm very excited about this year, lovage. Have you heard of lovage? I've heard of lovage, but I've never grown lovage. Here's the secret to lovage. If you like celery and you want to grow celery, but you, like me, cannot grow celery because it is a stinking booger and it is so hard to grow and you can't ever get those big, beautiful celery stalks like you get in the store, lovage is for you because it tastes just like celery, but it's an herb and it grows easily like herbs do. And you're not going to get that stalk, so you're not going to be able to get that hard bite into a piece of celery, but you will get the flavor of celery in the leaves. And for me, that's all I need. I just need the flavoring of celery because we mostly use it in soups, stews, and casseroles. So I'm not necessarily looking for that bite of the big chunk of celery. I'm looking for the flavor. Lovage, I plan on harvesting a lot and dehydrating them or freeze drying them and just sprinkling it and using that as my celery alternative. We make our own cream of celery soup. And a lot of times I won't make the cream of celery soup because I'm out of celery. You know, it's something that doesn't last very long in the fridge. It's something that I don't like to buy because it's like if I can grow it, I don't really want to I don't want to buy it, but I don't know. I'm a stickler about that. But lovage, I'm excited about growing lovage this year. The other non-perennial, meaning things that have to be planted every year, your annuals, more herbs, is parsley. Giant of Italy is my absolute favorite variety. I have parsley. It is January, and my parsley that I planted in May last year just re-bloomed. It just regrew. I'm speechless. I'm speechless. Parsley, I don't think is supposed to be a perennial. Maybe it is. Maybe my research is wrong. I don't think it's supposed to be a perennial though. And I went out to my garden recently, a few weeks ago, to check on my garlic because garlic grows throughout the winter here. And these huge patches of green popped up and I walked over and it was my parsley plants and I can't believe it. So anyway, sidetracked. But parsley, the other annual herb that we grow in large quantity is basil. I thought I had some basil, but I don't, so I still have some seed ordering to do. But my favorite variety is the Genovese, I think it's pronounced. Genovese basil. It's like a Italian variety of basil. Big, beautiful green leaves. I've been growing it for years. Fantastic for pesto. Fantastic for dehydrating and using in your seasonings. Other than those herbs, we have a perennial herb bed, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to start over with my perennial herb bed. I have a perennial herb bed out there, but if you missed some recent videos, you might not know that we are completely changing the way that we are laying out our garden this year, and we're switching to weed fabric ground cover. We have a whole video on that, and you can check that out if you want to. I will link that in the description box below as well. But because of that, I need to move the location of my perennial herb bed. I am going to try and dig up the existing herbs and see if I can transplant them, but I'm not super confident in my ability to make that transition happen successfully. So I went ahead and got some new seeds for that, for perennial herbs, which means you plant once and you can harvest for years to come. Those are sage, thyme, rosemary, oregano, lemon balm for teas. That's all I can think of right now. I know there's more. Lovage. Lovage is perennial too, so that's going to go in my forever herb bed. Something that will be planted once and not have to plant again. But I think that pretty much takes care of the herb category. Let me see if, oh, flowers. Okay. So I have ordered specialty flowers in the past, well, specialty meaning slightly more expensive and not your typical. So polar bear zinnias, bells of Ireland. Look at that, y'all. It's so pretty. I cannot wait to see these growing in my garden. But other than just a few just really pretty ones that I just want because they're so pretty. Oh, another one. Do I still have? Oh, I don't think I do. I don't remember what they're called either. Oh, here they are. Amazing gray poppies. They look purple on the camera. They look really purple on the camera, but they're gray. Different tones of gray and like that muted gray tone that I just absolutely love, paired with all of the other colors in the background. Just beautiful. So amazing gray poppies, zinnia polar bears, and bells of Ireland are my specialty flowers that I'm growing this year. But other than that, I just grab all kinds of cheapo Dollar Tree seeds for my flowers because I don't grow flowers to pick or, I mean, I'll make like a vase of flowers for sure, but I only do them for pollinators, to bring in pollinators. This year, I'm doing an entire row that spans the entire width of my garden. We're expanding the garden this year, and if I go wall to wall or fence to fence, it will be almost 100 feet. I think that's overkill, but I just think it would be beautiful to have an entire wall of flowers off to the side of my garden to just act as like a beacon for all of those bees and pollinators and butterflies and all of those things. And I'm just going to go out and sprinkle. I'm not going to dedicate a lot of time or money or amendments or anything like that to that. I'm just going to dump out like all of these seed packets. I've got snapdragons here. I have more snapdragons. I have some random multicolored zinnias. I might even go ahead and throw some lavender in there, even though it's more of an herb, not a flower. Marigolds, nasturtiums, love nasturtiums. I like these top Alaska salmon. They're like a peachy type color, not quite pink, but not orange either. They're a beautiful peach type color. But anyway, I'm going to have a whole row of flowers to bring in those pollinators this year. Very, very important. Other than that, garlic. And those aren't grown from seed either. I just go and purchase grocery store garlic. I get a few heads, break them up. We have an entire video on planting garlic from the grocery store. It's doing wonderfully out there. It's growing now. We plant sometime in October-ish and harvest in June-ish. So it's a very long season crop, and it is pretty much the only crop I grow throughout my entire winter, although I'm changing that this year, and I'm going to include lettuce in that as well. I think that's it. I think we covered everything. Let me look at my list here. Yes, we covered everything, just in case anybody wants to screenshot it and get variety information and recommendations. Again, this is the Sprout to Supper planner. This is what keeps my brain going all the way from putting the seed into the ground, all the way from growing, harvesting, meal planning, and serving it, preserving it, all of that. It's available in the shop if you are interested. It's a printable. You'll have to buy the cover. I ordered this cover on Amazon. It was like $12, I think. Nice and cheap. It's so cute. Okay, y'all. I think that's it. I'm excited about 2024's garden. If you are growing some new seed varieties this year, or even more, if you have tried and true seeds that you are going to grow every single year because they have performed beautifully for you, you know, those tried and true, you can depend on type seeds, please drop them in the comments below. I am so giddy about seeds, if you can't tell. And I love trying new varieties. Okay, y'all, that is it for today. We'll see you next time. Bye.